Alright guys, what's the crack? Welcome back to another episode of Meet the Members, where we have the chance to sit down with some of our lovely residents in Ormeau Baths to get to know a wee bit more about what they do and a wee bit more about their story. Here today with the wonderful Nigel McAlpine from Digital Catapult. And to start us off with, I was literally talking to the ladies at the desk downstairs and I was like, give me something about Nigel, like just a wee personal thing to like kick the interview off. And it says, you gotta talk to him about skiing. So tell us about your love of skiing and where that's taken you around the world.
Yeah, I was quite happy you mentioned skiing. Just love skiing, full stop.
Yeah.
It's one of those sports that you suddenly find you love and enjoy. It's done maybe about 17, 18 times, and it's just one of those exhilarating places to go in the world that it's just a wonderful sport and really enjoy.
Cool. So if you had to choose between like skiing and snowboarding, what would you go for?
Skiing, I mean, I've tried snowboarding. Learned
Yeah.
to snowboard in New Zealand, amazing place, fantastic to do so down there. But skiing's just much easier to learn, and I can cover more terrain that way. So
Yeah.
I prefer skiing, I think.
And what actually is it about like being on the slopes? Is it like the actual experience of skiing itself? Is it the nature that surrounds it? Is it having the helmet on and like disappearing for a while? Like what kind of gets you off about it?
I guess it's just the feeling of you can have that lovely last run of the day scenario where the sun's about to go down, very few people left, and you kind of get the piece to yourself and
Cool.
get a bit of a speed and just lose yourself for half an hour, 40
Awesome.
minutes.
Awesome. Well, you've got a really interesting background. We don't have time today to kind of get into it. I've heard kind of whispers about working for the BBC and all this sort of stuff, but you currently have residence. It's literally just behind this wall for the people who are watching. And I would say the most interesting part of the baths, I do like loads of tours, whenever I have guests in, and we always stop and everyone's always amazed at your actual space itself. So paint a bit of a picture of what that looks like. Why is that so interesting? The props here in the back probably give us away a wee bit, but tell us about that space itself because it's unbelievable.
Yeah, well, we searched around for a while for a venue, and we wanted something that just had a bit of wow factor about it. And the minute we popped up the stairs on the mezzanine level, it's got like an apex roof, and you've got this lovely light coming through. So we used half the space for demonstration and half the space for office space, and works pretty well. As you say, we've got these headsets here that is kind of my domain, Immersive Technology. So we showcase this kind of stuff to startups and larger companies too. Just anybody who wants to understand what immersive technology can do.
Cool. And how did you personally get into this stuff? Because there's a big jump between like, here I am working on my laptop, like doing my thing, using my editing software, and then using tech like this.
Yeah, well, it was my background sort of creative content production, BBC, and it was a time when we were looking at how can we on the web kind of enhance what's happening in big TV moments, including things like Titanic, and one particular story was around World War One, and I wanted to sort of get a feeling of what it was like to go over the top in a trench.
Wow.
So at the time, I knew Chris Kelly, who runs Enter Yes, and he had one of the first iterations of these things back in 2015.
Wow.
And I wanted to basically put someone in the headset and make them feel like they're going over the top. So we went over to the song and filmed, used photogrammetry to build this feeling of the trench that was built as it was back in 1914, 15. And so at that moment you put the headset on, you get a feeling of what's it like to go over the top, used audio and visuals. So that was the kind of moment I went, wow, this is a brand new technique for storytelling.
So cool. So how did you get involved in Digital Catapult then? What was the bridge that led you between the two?
Well, I left the BBC in 2015 and set up my own company, StoryFX, which is telling stories with technology as a start out. And then Catapult mentioned the big some part-time work involved, so I worked for Catapult for part-time, then became full-time 2-3 years ago.
Awesome, mate. And what actually is Digital Catapult? Tell us a wee bit about what you do.
Yeah, Digital Catapult is a UK government project, and it tries to connect academia, startups, big business, small business, and using emerging technology like AI, XR, immersive technology, 5G, blockchain, those emerging technologies. How can we make companies aware of that and use accelerator programs, innovation open calls, things like that, just to spread the awareness and make sure that people are aware of what this technology can do for them, which ultimately will help grow the UK economy.
It's really interesting because we're privileged to like work in a place like this, and I'm always telling my mates who are in kind of more traditional jobs, And I'm like, oh yeah, and there's this company and they use VR to like train goalkeepers, and you can just see them. They're like, what does that even mean? Like that sounds completely made up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, talk to me a wee bit about the disconnect between, hugely innovative buildings like this and other incubator hubs and tech hubs, even across the UK, around the world, that have all this cutting edge technology, and then the outside business world. Is there a disconnect between those two?
Yes, and I guess that's the role we kind of
Okay.
trying to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
So it's not until you put these things on people's heads and you get the chance to actually see them and showcase them that they really get it. You're right. Trying to imagine that's very difficult. We have lots of companies come in and chat to us, and you can see them still struggling. We use PowerPoint to describe what we're trying to describe, and we said, look, jump up and pop a headset on, and you get the understanding. But that makes it quite simplistic, because there's still a big job to implement it into the workflows of these companies, and to get people understanding that maybe 3-4 years ago it was quite difficult, but now it's thankfully getting much easier in the workflow and the software in the background to get it installed in the company's projects is much easier.
And it's come a long way in terms of how it even looks. I remember some of the early VR stuff, and you put it on, and it's like a Nintendo 64. Now you put it on, you're like, whoa, this has come a really long way.
Well, that's just to use a prop for a second. I mean, that's £300, whereas...
And is that the Oculus, is it?
Yeah, that's £300, where maybe 6-7 years ago.
Because I've heard this quite a lot in a gaming context.
Yeah. It would have been 2,000-3,000 by the time you have a PC, lots of wires.
Yeah.
4 or 5 years ago. So that's the difference, really. It's getting smaller, cheaper, faster.
Amazing.
And easier to use. So it does help from that point of view. But gaming, is a huge part of this. But that's the sort of, I guess, most people's expectation is that this is a gaming world where it's been used much more widely than that.
So give us like an example or like a few case studies of, I don't know, like more traditional businesses utilizing something like VR to actually like drive forward aspects of their business.
Yeah, well, a recent company we're chatting to at the minute and on our new programs here is Connex, and they make off-site bathroom pods. So they would take everything you see in a hotel or a hospital in the bathroom. That's one big chunk, and they manufacture off-site. The problem they have, a lot of companies have, is the design review bit, where they've got multiple stakeholders trying to sign things off in different parts of not only one area of the office, but maybe multiple sites around the UK.
Yeah.
So they're using VR to take their 3D models into a 3D space that both internal parts of the departments can understand what's right and what's wrong about it, and also fire that over to the customer. You can also in real time understand, can you move that way, that doesn't quite work, or I can sign off on that. So it just greatly improves the speed and efficiency of their workflows. So
the client can effectively like be in the bathroom and look around. Wow.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's crazy. Any other examples? Like I've only got like whispers of things that I've even like heard other people talk about, like walking past the space out there. I've heard things about firefighters, I've heard things about football stadiums and architects and all sorts of stuff. Either what I've said or something else. Any other examples?
Yeah, I think the one you're talking about there is the fire training example.
Okay.
It's a scenario where they take 2-3 different types of it goes the exponents of this craft in XR. You've got photogrammetry and 360 filmmaking and CG, so there's a bit of everything in that, and that allows not only firefighters but crime scene officers a chance to recreate as close as they can to the real thing to help their fellow colleagues train. So in other words, when you put the headset on, you're seeing two or three things. You're seeing a CG environment of a lab, if you like.
Yeah.
And then for the firefighting one, you're going over to what looks like a burnt out shipping container.
Wow.
What they've actually done is off-site prior to that is put a 360 camera into the shipping container, and a fire person goes in and lights that, and it burns down. So your job as a trainee is to go in and see these clues, and so the CG'd, if you like, these burnt out objects within that environment.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go in and, like you see in the TV, you grab a virtual camera, you take a couple of clicks, those photographs end up in the lab of the wall, and you can point 1, 2, 3 markers on it, say I think that's important, that burnt out bit. You can grab that virtually and bring it back into the lab. And then once you assemble it with a colleague, then you decide where the seat of the fire is.
Mm-hmm.
And once you've done that, then you can virtually teleport back over to where that event happened, and then pop on the fire, if you like.
Yeah,
in the middle
yeah.
of the fire, and then you can actually spot it burning down, so you can see in real time the connection of what, did I get it right, did I get it wrong?
Crazy.
And then as well as that, the trainees or trainers can see all this happening in real time. They can stand back and go, well, okay, well, why is Matt going over there, and Nigel should be over here. So it's quite powerful.
That's so cool. Bit of a random one then, like just popped in my head. What is the most impressive thing that you personally have seen in a VR headset? Like any moments where you've just been like, I just can't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, it's two things. It's where very clever ideas come together, very good technology. And I guess there's a headset which is a bit more expensive than this.
Yeah.
By a company called Vario. And it's a common theme now. It wasn't so much a couple of years ago. This sort of called pass-through technology. So when you put that headset on, the little cameras that you still see the real world. But Vario have taken it to a brand new level where the quality of those cameras makes it almost like it's real time. Sorry, real life. And I was at a conference where queued up to put this headset on, and don't forget I've got a headset over my eyes, and then I look to my left, I can see you and see, oh, wow, this looks like the real world.
Yeah.
Then the guy who's demoing it threw a bottle at me, so I kind of caught it. I went, wow, and he said turn to your right, and I turned to my right. In the virtual world, then this whole new room and scene come into play. So it allows people to understand and interact with not just a virtual world or a real one, but the same two together. But in a quality way that wasn't available a couple of years ago.
Crazy.
So it's kind of really powerful to see your own hands, even though your brain's telling you that you're completely covered with a headset.
Yeah. That's bonkers. And maybe you could, this is a source of my own kind of ignorance. I've never really fully understood the term augmented reality, AR. Is that more so what the Google Glass is doing here, or I'm open to be completely wrong?
Well, you've got three different options here. I mean, this is sort of mixed reality where the real world is superimposed on top of a lens that you can still see out of, but it knows the depth difference between this table and you, and if I was to place an augmented object, it would know the environment. Augmented is just literally a 2D scene plopped in front of you.
Okay.
It doesn't interact with the environment, you just literally see it as it is. Mixed reality knows the environment, it's clever enough to know the depth and where it is, and then it's much more involved, and you can pick up objects and interact with them.
Gotcha, man. Very cool. I love learning stuff through doing this. It's one of the nice wee perks of the job. Talk to me about, like, for yourself, like just on a personal level, like why do you enjoy coming into work in Ormeau Baths, and why is this space important to you?
I think it's first and foremost just a quality space. You walk around it and you sort of feel very almost at home because of the way it's turned out. At the same time, it's got a vibrancy about it because of the wide range of people that are here.
Yeah.
All walks of life, and it kind of you're surprised by people that you think aren't connected to your industry, but then they come up and chat to you, you realise there are lots of connections.
Yeah. And
I guess Claire and the team just make you feel pretty much at home as well, and they can't do enough for you.
Yeah.
City centre locations, so our customers and clients know exactly where we are, and a combination of the unique space and the vibrancy of the people here make it a good place to work.
Awesome, man. Final question, you'd be glad to know. What advice would you give to a younger version of yourself just before you kind of embarked on this immersive tech journey?
Take another year out and do more skiing.
It'll come again, hopefully.
No, 2 kids and a large mortgage, no. Okay, I mean, younger self, it's more, I guess, around you just take a bit more risks and believe in yourself. And I'm a great believer in having a good wide range of people around you network-wise, and it's a lot to do with who you know rather than what you know. But yeah, just trust your gut and take a bit more risks.
Awesome, mate. Well, thank you for doing this. I really, really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
And thank you so much for spending this time with myself and Nigel. If you'd like to check out other episodes in this Meet the Member series, you can head over to the Ormeau Baths website, and we'll have links for all of Nigel's work and Digital Catapult website and stuff on the webpage where you are checking this out. And if you would be interested in coming to see Ormeau Baths to make it your kind of business home, whether you are a solo entrepreneur or you have a small team of people or a large team of people, we'd love to hear from you, and you can click the contact form on the website to do that. And other than that, thanks so much for spending this time with us, and we really appreciate it.